there's a whole bunch of other people and like gurus and self-help coaches and these people online. None of them have been through the things I've been through. Most of them are still kids. Like I don't even know how old you are, and I state
I'm 20.
Okay, 20, perfect. So I state this with absolute respect. You don't know shit about life till you're 30. You just don't. You haven't lived enough.
Yeah.
You can be smart, but you can't be wise.
Yeah.
Anybody who's taking advice from a 25-year-old on the internet, you're a dummy. Because at 25, I was stupid.
That's why I'm not giving you advice. I'm interviewing you.
Correct. But at 25, I was dumb. And I'm the smartest man on the planet. So, like, if you're sitting here and you're watching some guy's videos and just Google his age, don't listen to none of these people, right? They can have opinions. They can be entertaining. They can interview others.
Yeah.
They can give their insights. But also keep in mind, they are still young, right? As a man, it takes a long time. You have to go through a bunch of crap to learn things. Pain.
Yeah.
So
we're just taking a break from day game in Sydney CBD. My students are worn out as usual because we wear them out here, give them a lot of things to do, a lot of drills. But it has a great point here, is that someone in their 20s just doesn't have the experience to become your life guru, your life coach, your dating and relationships expert. And if they think they do, they're a con artist, they're a fraud. Now, Andrew Tate has said it, and he's coming from the same point of view as me, where he's come from a very poor background. He's also lived a relatively hard life up until recently when he became wealthy. I myself came from a very poor background, came from the ghetto. You can read my book. It's in the description or on my website, the Disabled Casanova, I called it. There's several steps in a relationship that happen not just through the cold approach. Any child can learn cold approach fast, but when you're getting coaching from someone like myself, who's in his 40s, who's been been in the community a very long time, been in the game a very long time, and been involved in pickup a very long time as well, it's not just the cold approach. I noticed that myself. I remember when I joined one group, and there was this 18-year-old kid that learnt the yad stop, and he was like, "Oh, this is how you do the yad stop." The thing is, this 18-year-old kid had never had a relationship. He was 18 and living with his parents, yet he was giving me tips on how to day game perfectly. This is how you do the perfect yad stop, and this is, this guy, he just wasn't old enough to have not only cold approached the girl, number closed, slept with girls, got into relationships with girls, run through that process multiple times to have the experience and seen multitude of different things that can happen after you get into a relationship, had a rotation of girls. He hadn't traveled overseas. He wasn't worldly enough to know anything other than Sydney CBD. And this is what you're getting most of the time when you're getting coaching from these coaches that are in their 20s. Recently, a coach put up a video saying, dating advice for older men. He just wanted to hit the keywords clearly. And I left a comment, and I was like, oh, young guy giving advice to older men, which is quite fraudulent in my opinion. This guy, he replied to me because I guess you can see someone's name, and if it's another coach, they're more likely to respond. And he goes, "I'm 32, LOL," as if like 32 is old. 32, you're at your absolute peak. You're at the peak of your powers at 32. You get to 40, and you're under 6 foot, and you've got some health issues, and you can still pick up in the nightclub like I can. That's evidence of game. Longevity in the game is evidence of game, not being a guy in his 20s and just being able to pick up a few girls here and there. Now, this is something that a lot of the coaches just glaze over because they don't want you knowing this, and a lot of people who are new to pickup, they just don't know this at all. But the fact of the matter remains is that longevity in the game is evidence of skill, because as you get a little bit older, as you get a little bit more less attractive, and you're still able to pick up, that's evidence that you have real skills in game. A lot of guys, they quit before they reach 40, and you notice that across the board. There's very few, if any, that are 40 or over and coaching. Now, I'd like to elaborate on that even more, where if a guy is in his 20s and he's teaching you pickup and he doesn't have a depth of understanding, all he's done is probably done a boot camp with another guy that's a little bit older than him and taught him the cold approach phase, then he doesn't have a depth of understanding on relationships, doesn't have a depth of understanding on all of the other issues and trauma that a man can go through a proper lifespan. A guy like myself, I haven't just lived and had experience, I've also lived with experience that the majority of human beings on planet Earth don't suffer from, and I've been able to overcome them over and over and over again. A good looking guy in his 20s who is getting laid, he doesn't really have skills. He might have born charisma, but can he transition all of that, or send all of that charisma to you? He can't. He was born with it. He can't give you his looks either. So effectively, what is a good looking coach in his 20s doing? He's effectively black pill. Now, I haven't heard anyone say this before, but what is a black pill guy? It's someone that thinks that looks are everything. What is a good looking guy in his 20s that's getting laid and giving putting up lots of infields, pretending that he's actually got game? What is he actually teaching you other than his looks, his age are getting him laid, and he wants to just fraudulently pretend that he has game? He wants to give you some ABC cutout sort of information that is canned lines and basic information. Notice that a lot of the most famous coaches, they're very tall and they were very young when they got famous. That's not an accident. That's very black pill thinking. And if you have a look at it in terms of the black pill, these are good looking guys that are getting laid purely because they're good looking and they just go over and say hello to a girl. They could even swipe right on Tinder. You don't even know how they got them. They're doing approaches and finessing those approaches and pretending that there's some sort of method to them purely just getting girls, punching down. They're not getting girls more attractive than them. They're getting girls less attractive than them. They're effectively black pill guys that have learned how to approach and get laid purely because of their looks, and then they're going to sell you some sort of a canned line or some ABC sort of a structure on how they did it. Someone like myself who's in my 40s has experienced all of that, and I know that that is black pill thinking. The majority of these coaches that are coaching you are black pill thinking, black pill thoughts. I also had another guy reach out to my arm's getting tired easy here. This camera's big. The thing here is, I had a guy reach out to me. He actually filled out the coaching request to do coaching with myself, but it turns out he wanted to reverse it. He wanted to be a coach for me in Europe, and I had a look at him. He's actually a good-looking guy. He's 6'2" or 3 or 6'4", I think he said. He's like tall, good-looking guy. He's 23 years old. Hits the gym as well, works in construction. He's literally ticks all of these boxes. And then you go through his Instagram and he's banging twos. He's a good looking guy that you could objectively say he's an 8, and that's objectively across the board. He's objectively, getting 6s or something like that. He's punching down. There's no skill in that at all. Punching up is where the skill is. If you're a shorter, older guy like myself and you're still able to pull a girl that is in their 20s, that's punching up. That's maximum punching up. And a lot of guys that watch these videos, they don't fully understand that. They're more like, this 23-year-old guy who just decided that he wants to become a coach, he might even start up a YouTube channel tomorrow and gain more subscribers immediately because the market isn't really wise up to that. And I think we need to take more advice from older, wiser men, and I would put myself in that category. You don't survive what I've been through over the amount of years that I've been through these things, the same as someone like Andrew Tate, without some wisdom, without learning wisdom through that experience. And so that's what I impart to my students. It's not just, oh, approach girl, come back. There's wisdom being imparted. And a lot of the younger guys, they don't fully understand how important that wisdom is. So check out the top link in the description, go to my website. I got hundreds of articles there. You can go through the articles. I would also recommend that you go to especially if you're in Sydney, Australia, this is George Street. I recommend you go to the website, sign up, and do some coaching with myself. Cold approach coaching, the proper stuff, and I keep talking and impart a lot of wisdom, and it's catered specifically to you. That's what the coaching is. It's catered specifically to you. You might think that you've got good cold approach, and you might think that you know what you're doing. Then you come see me, and I'll really slow it down for you, and you realize you probably don't know too much. I can go in depth. I have a depth of understanding on this particular topic. Cold approach, and more specifically, day game. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.